things we could talk about. Let's see. Let's make this bigger so it makes sense. Okay. If you guys can hear me, just give me a thumbs up so I can see it. Thumbs up. Cool. Awesome. All right. What you need to have, actually needed by Friday and Monday, but I'll give you till the end of today before I finish grading it. So I actually graded these ones already, but if you still need to turn in, I'll give you late credit for 5 and 6, which is pages 75 through 91 and 91 through 111. So if you were doing this one, you will learn about, okay, uh, for 75 through 91, I kind of went over um, this idea. He talks for a long period of time about this guy named Prince Jones, and Prince Jones is someone that he went to school with at Howard University. And Howard University is a college. It's actually historically all black college, and you're like, what? That doesn't make sense. But so back then, during like the early 1900s, 1800s, so going to white colleges obviously didn't let African Americans. So what they did was start historically black colleges. So something like Howard. There's like 4 or 5 of them that are just major ones. And so Howard is mainly African American college, but they let everyone in. People tend to go there because it helps them kind of discover themselves. He calls it the Mecca. Mecca means a place where you feel comfortable, where you feel safe. So Prince Jones, he's not actually a prince. He's just this guy. His first name's Prince. He meets him at school and he finds out that he gets killed. And so Prince Jones, he gets killed when he goes to his girlfriend's or fiance's house and he gets stopped and there's like a regular traffic stop and he gets shot. And that kind of makes him think. Throughout the second part of the book, he brings him up constantly, trying to thinking about what's the situation. How can you can be an educated black man, you can be an educated person, and still get shot by a police officer. So the color of your skin determines your fate, not your how well you do in life. All right, so that was paragraph 1. In paragraph 2, much of what this section is about is Coates dealing with the death of a student by the hand of police officers. Do you think that police officers should be held accountable in the same way regular citizens are held accountable? Or do you think that they should be given a slack because they're in dangerous jobs? So, for example, I mean, we understand that police officers are doing a dangerous job and it requires split-second decisions. Sometimes they have to make decisions that are very costly. So, should we give them a different set of codes? So, if a normal person shoots and kills someone, they will go to jail for what, 10, 20 years, maybe for life. If a police officer does it, as we see in Fruitvale Station when he kills Oscar Grant, he only goes to jail for 2 years, and because this is part of a mistake that he makes. But the key question is, are officers are allowed to make mistakes? Is it part of their, should it be part of their job, right? So once you guys start working, you guys realize there's mistakes made. The second part of the question is, what experiences have you had of authorities? So, for example, in my lifetime, I've been fine, but I always talk about this. My siblings always had trouble with the law, so it was like a common run-in my life, and I always had very negative perspectives, just because in one immigrant family, my parents didn't really speak too much English at the time, so I always found that they were a bit not racist, but condescending. Uh, but at the same time, as I grew older, I did find some police officers I found were nice, who were helpful. But it doesn't have to be police officers. When I talk about authorities, like teachers, schools, there's that story where Amy says she ran away from some lady who's yelling at her. Uh, what has your been experience? Do you feel like adults, especially ones that in power, it could be the ones in the front office, could be the ones actually in charge of the city and the school, do you feel like they give you a respect? Do they try to build a good relationship with you? And if not, like, what has been your experience? So that is generally discussion number 5. I think most people did it, minus these individuals. So go do that. I'm going to grade that today. For some of you have already graded it. Okay. And then if you look at discussion number 6, And I would recommend to do these quickly because the rest of them, the rest of the book, because it's helpful. You need to write a rough draft, and it's hard to write a rough draft if you don't know what the book is about. All right, for this one, you're looking at pages 91 to 111. This was due yesterday. Once again, we're still doing it, but I need these done today because I'm going to close the quizzes. I was planning to go over the quizzes today, but I was looking at the numbers of people that did it. We're still at maybe like 60% of you did it. So if I close those quizzes, your grades will drop significantly. So I'm going to give you to the end of the day to finish those quizzes. I think for Manny, I need to reopen one of the quizzes for test number one. Just ask me about that after. So for this section, you're looking at pages 91 to 111. I have you look at a quote. What does quote say regarding the phrase black on black crime on pages 109 to 111? I actually direct you to a specific area. And you kind of have to just explain what he's trying to say. In paragraph 2 for this discussion, think about the LUC over the last decade. So here's some statistics for you guys to think about. This is for only high school seniors. This does not include all the kids that started their freshman year. So if you notice, actually even you notice now, as juniors, since your freshman year, I would imagine there's a lot of kids that used to be there that aren't there anymore, either because they transferred schools, either because they dropped out, they went to San Antonio. But I guarantee you the number is a lot smaller. So the numbers I'm giving you here are just high school seniors. Doesn't account for those kids that disappeared over the years. In LAUSD, this is statistics from 2010, I think. 78% of high school seniors graduated from high school. They graduated 78%. So of the seniors, 78% graduated. That stat does not show the ones that dropped out. Of that 78%, only 66% of them enrolled in a 2 to 4 year university. Of those students that enrolled, only 25% ended with a college degree. All right, that sounds like a lot of math. So let me give you like in different terms. Imagine we have 100 students that are seniors, right? Our senior class is only 100 kids. By those statistics, only 78 will receive a high school diploma. So 22, they did not get a diploma, they did not graduate, something else happened to them. Only 51 of those who graduated, of those 78, will enroll in college into a 2 to 4 year university. Of those 51 people, only 12 of them will receive a college degree based on statistics, right? These numbers only account for the kids who graduated and not the ones who were lost along the way. So think about that. In a typical class of 100, the stats for LUSD is 12 students will receive a college degree. That's crazy. 12 students out of the 100. So the question I have for you is, what do you think of these stats? Why do so many students in LUSD and school districts that primarily serve low-income minority students tend to produce numbers like this? What can the school system, teachers, the community, or parents do to push more kids towards education? In a sense, why do so many kids fail? And this is one of the questions I started the unit with. Is I was kind of curious why so many kids were not doing well in school and in terms of life. That doesn't mean going to college doesn't mean you're going to be successful, but at least it's a path. It's something you're working towards. All right, so that is discussion 5 and 6. Let me go back to this.
Byron and Alicia got kicked out.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me fix this. Okay. Manage participants. Alex got kicked out too.
No, good. Yeah.
No good. Alex, you back in?
He's still here. There's like 2 of them.
Is Byron still gone? Well, I guess we'll wait for him to come back. All right, so far, any questions about the discussion post? You guys have any questions? Okay, so yes, the other ones are due by Friday, but if you wait till that long, you might be behind on other parts. But let me just go over the pre-work. So Let me move this and make it smaller.
Tom, Amy can't get in.
Amy can't get in?
No, she's not. They're not. It's not letting her in.
It says she's in, so I don't know.
Cause she's told me that it's saying that she can't. That like it's not showing her anything.
Really? Okay, we'll figure that out later. Tell her, try her best, keep going, but then if not, I'll show her the video later.
Okay.
Okay, so this is what your assignment was, and if you haven't added to yours, then I'll get clearly see who didn't do it yet. So Kenya, Juliana, some other people. I'm gonna grade this tonight, and your job is just to find 2 quotes that help support the prompt, right? That relates to the prompt in some way. So most people have it. What you guys do by today is you see at the bottom, there's prompt 1, prompt 2, prompt 3, prompt 4, prompt 5. Our next meeting, I'm going to find a way. There's a way to separate you guys into smaller groups so you guys can have group chats together, and I'm gonna do that. But for us to do it, I need to know what prompts you guys want to do. So I'm gonna talk about prompt 3 today, which is the comparison of the letters. But all you need to do is go to one of the prompts. Let's say if you really like prompt 1, which is fear is recurring theme and author. How does fear affects yada yada? You just put Alexander Centennial, and then let's say Manny likes it. He wants to add his name. But so if you want to do that prompt, just so it lets me know, I can group you guys later for our next meeting on Friday. Please put your name there. So just sign up for that. There's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10 of you guys. You still need to add your quotes in. But with that said, make sure you select the prompt you guys want to do. Speaking of the essay, so
wait,
yeah.
When I tried to do that one, the pre-work, it didn't let me. Like I would click on the folder and then it was empty.
Really? I would say make sure you add on using your LHD email. Did you try that?
Yeah, I did that. I
Okay.
saw like video like what you did, but it didn't let me.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Let me I'm going to share this document with you directly at the end of the meeting. Just remind me.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So do this part, and just because I had you sign up for prompt 1 on here doesn't mean I'm so dumb. I was like using my fingers to point at the screen. All right. Just because I had you do prompt 1 over here doesn't mean you have to stick to prompt 1. It's just so I could have you guys do some pre-work so people have understanding of what to put. So just because you did pre-work here, you can sign up for any of the prompts that you plan to do. On Friday, we talked about video conference. So a lot of people signed up, but we still need more. And this is by this time period, you're going to have your rough draft. And rough draft could be very, very rough. I mean, it's just something that for me to look at and we could talk about and kind of give you advice for what you do. Obviously, you need to know the book by that. Because you need to discuss it. So I have some appointments. So Cynthia, you said 2:00, but she's not in the chat right now, I think. But I had to move you to 1:30 because obviously at 2:00 I meet with the class. So I'm going to actually delete 2. I'll change it to 3. And this one I'll change to 3. So 2:00 on Friday doesn't work because obviously we're going to meet for class. Saturday, I'm going to have Kidia, Darlene, Alicia, Destiny. We have some room in the morning. And basically, I'm going to sit at how it's going to work. Originally, I was going to FaceTime you guys or something like that, but that's not going to work. I'm going to Zoom conference with you guys. And if you guys, for some people, it's not working, I'll just call you and we'll talk on the phone. But the point of it is just so we can look at your paper together and we kind of discuss what we need to focus on. But please, sign up for your time. So let's say for Kidia, she signed up for 1 p.m. on Saturday, the day before, so Friday night, or even Friday night. Please submit your essay so I can at least put put some comments on it the day before, so which is Friday. And where you would put it is, let me show you, get there from the beginning. If you're at our class, you'll see something say course document. And you see something that says AP Language and Composition Google Drive. Sometimes it might open it right away, so you need to click on this button. I put a direct link on our GroupMe, and I could do it again afterwards if you guys want. But put this here. And then there's two boxes. So the first box is the essay. So you see this Google Sheet, you click on it, add your name. Over here, we have the pre-work, and you could, what you need to do is one or two things. You could literally open up a new Google Doc in this when you're in this folder. And then you put your name. So my name. And rough draft. Right? You could literally do that. But for some reason you already typed it. Like you already have it typed. What you can do is just say on here, when you have your own Google Doc, you could share and just share with me. So you just put Nelson. My email is this, and I'll post it on the link after. My email is nelson.ta@lhd.net. So two ways to share your rough draft with me. One of them is to actually create it inside the folder, and the other one is to literally share with me. Okay. Any questions so far about the video conference, the pre-work right here, or selecting a prompt? I'll give you guys like 15 seconds to think about this. Alex says no. Any questions?
Nope.
No? All right, cool. All right, so we'll move on. That's obviously the due date is the day before your video conference. So some of you signed up, some of you haven't, but do so. We still have lots of Sunday time periods that gives you extra day. We still have a few Saturday time periods, and basically all of Friday's free. But that is a short notice. That means you would have to have that done by Thursday. But it's a lot of work.
I signed up for Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday's a better time because Friday you're like the discussion posts and quizzes are due. So that's gonna be a little hectic. All right. Okay, let's move on to the next section. So keep in mind there is a folder for letter 2 assignment. This is where you do it. You do the same thing. If you go to the actual assignment, you'll see there's a link. If you click on the link, it'll lead you to a article that looks like this one, A Letter to My Nephew, James Baldwin. So basically our author, Ta-Nehisi Coates, based his whole book around the structure of this letter. I don't know. Maybe I'll just read it so you guys make sure you guys all have it. All right. So this is the letter he wrote to his nephew in 1962. It's been 50 years since then. Actually, more than that. 58 years. And here it goes. So, dear James, I've begun this letter 5 times and tore it up 5 times. I keep seeing your face when it's also the face of your father and brother. I've known both of you all your lives and have carried your daddy in my arms and my shoulders, kissed him and spanked him and watched him learn to walk. I don't know if you have known anybody from that far back, if you have loved anyone that long, first as an infant, then as a child, and then as a man. You gain a strange perspective on time and pain and effort. Other people cannot see where I see whenever I look into your father's face. For behind your father's face, as it is today, are all those other faces which were his. Let him laugh, and I see a cellar your father does not remember, and a house he does not remember, and I hear in his present laughter his laughter as a child. Let him curse, and I remember his falling down the cellar stairs and howling, and I remember his pain, his tears, which my hand on your grandmother's hand so easily wiped away. But no one's hand can wipe away those tears he sheds invisibly today, which one hears in his laughter and his speech and in his songs. I know that the world has done to my brother and how narrowly he has survived it, and I know which is much worse, and this is the crime of which I accuse my country and my countrymen, and for those which I neither I nor time nor history will forgive them, that they have destroyed and destroying hundreds of thousands of lives, do not know it and do not want to know it. One can be, indeed, one must strive to become tough, philosophical concerning destruction and death. For this is what most of mankind has been best at since we have heard of war. Remember, I said most of mankind, but it is not permissible that the authors of devastation should also be innocent. It is the innocence with which constitutes the crime. Now, my dear namesake, these innocent, well meaning people, your countrymen have caused you to be born under conditions not far removed from those described for us by Charles Dickens in London of more than 100 years ago. I hear the chorus of the innocent screaming, "No, this is not true. How bitter you are." And I am writing this letter to you to tell you, to, to try to tell you something about how to handle them, for most of them do not yet really know that you exist. I know the conditions under which you were born, for I was there. Your countrymen were not there and haven't made it there. Your grandmother was also there, and no one ever accused her of being bitter. I just that the innocent check with her. She isn't hard to find. Your countrymen don't know that she exists either, though she has been working for them all their lives. Well, you were born here. You came here something like 15 years ago, and though your father and mother and grandmother looking around the streets through which they were carrying you, staring at the walls into which they brought you, have every reason to be heavy hearted, yet they were not. For here you were, Big James, named for me. You were a big baby. I was not. Here you were loved you were to be loved, baby, hard at once forever to be strengthened you against the loveless world. Remember, I know how black it looks today for you. It looks black that day too. Yes, we were all trembling. We have not stopped trembling yet. But if we had not loved each other, none of us would have survived, and now you must survive because we love you and for the sake of your children and your children's children. The innocent country set you down into a ghetto which in fact intended that you should perish. Let me spell out precisely what I have mean by that, for the heart of the matter is here at the crux of my dispute with my country. You were born where you were born and faced the future that you faced because you were black and for no other reason. The limits in your ambition were thus expected to settle. You were born into society which spelled out with brutal clarity and in as many ways as possible that you were a worthless human being. You were not expected to aspire to excellence. You were expected to make peace with mediocrity. Wherever you turn, James, in short time on this earth, you have been told where you could go and what you could do and how you could do it, where you could live and whom you could marry. I know your countrymen do not agree with me here, and I hear them saying, "You exaggerate." You do not know Harlem, and I do. So do you. Take no one's word. Take no one's word for anything, including mine. But trust your experience. Know whence you came. If you know whence you came, there's really no limit to where you can go. The details and symbols of your life have been deliberately constructed to make you believe that what white people say about you. Please try to remember that what they believe as well as what they do cause you to endure. It does not testify to inferiority, but to the inhumanity and the fear. Please try to be clear, dear James, through the storm which rages about your youthful head today, and about reality which lies beyond the words, acceptance and integration. There is no reason for you to try to become like white men, and there is no basis whatever for their impertinent assumptions that you must accept you. The really terrible thing, old buddy, is that you must accept them. I mean that very seriously. You must accept them and accept them with love. For those innocent people have no other hope. They all, in effect, were trapped in a history with do not understand, and until they understand it, they cannot be released from it. They have had to believe for many years and for innumerable reasons that black men are inferior to white men. Many of them indeed know better, but as you will discover, people find very difficult to act on what they know. To act is to be committed, and to be committed is to be in danger. In this case, the danger is in the minds and hearts of most white Americans, is the loss of their identity. Try to imagine how you would feel if you woke up one morning to find the sun shivering and all the stars aflame. You will be frightened because it is out of the order of nature, and any upheaval in the universe is terrifying because it so profoundly attacks one's sense and one's own reality. Well, the black man has functioned in the white man's world as a fixed star, as an immovable pillar, and he moves out of his place. Heaven and earth are shaken to their foundation. You don't be afraid. I said it was intended that you should perish. In the ghetto, perish by never being allowed to go behind the white man's definition, by never being allowed to spell your name proper to name. You have, and many of us have, defeated this intention by a terrible law, a terrible paradox. Those innocents who believe that your imprisonment made them safe are losing their grasp of reality. But these men are your brothers and your lost younger brothers. And if the word integration means anything, this is what it means, that we, with love, shall force our brothers to see themselves as they are, to cease fleeing from reality and begin to change it. For this is your home, my friend. Do not be driven from it. Great men have done great things here and will again can make America what America must become. It'll be hard, James, but you come from a sturdy present stock. Men who picked cotton, dammed rivers, built railroads, and a teeth of most terrifying odds achieved an unassailable and monumental dignity. You come from a long line of great poets, some of the greatest poets since Homer. One of them said, "The very time I thought I was lost, my dungeon shook and my chains fell off." I know, you know, and I know that the country is celebrating 100 years of freedom, 100 years too early. We cannot be free until they are free. God bless you, James. Godspeed, your Uncle James. All right, long letter, but the point of it was kind of preparing his nephew about the dangers of being a black man in America. He says stuff like, they have limits for you. There's limits to your success. You may not be able to succeed because they put boundaries on who you can become. That is very similar to the things that we see today. This was written 58 years ago, but the things he does say, yeah, and it still sounds similar. A lot of the things he's telling his nephew isn't that different than what you see today. And if you look at what he's saying, he wrote this 100 years after the freedom of slaves. But things have, yes, I mean, things are better because they're not slaves anymore. But they still say there's restrictions of who they can become, who can marry. Even in the 1960s, something like interracial marriage was a taboo. They controlled where you can go, who you become. All right, so that's a letter that, if you see it, it inspires Ta-Nehisi Coates. I brought this up last week, but I didn't really go into detail. Let's wait for it to load. You're welcome to do this prompt, even though it's not listed on. Not listed above. What it is a compare and contrast. How are Ta-Nehisi Coates and James Baldwin's letter similar, and how are they different? What messages do they share? How are they connected? So such and such. So the second written part for this end of this unit is the letter assignment. And what you need to do for a letter assignment is you'll find us in final assessments. So there's two final things you need to do. There's a rough draft due by the due date and the letter assignment, which is due next Tuesday. I extended it to give you more time. And this is a 1.5 to 2 page letter. And what you need to do, similar to the way he did it, first, you need to address the letter to someone that is supposed to be much younger than you. It can be real or imaginary. It can be a future child of yours, one of Alex's future's kids. It could be one of your the children of like a sibling. So let's say, for example, you do have like nieces and nephews that you want to talk about to share some wisdom to. It could be younger sibling, assuming that the younger siblings are younger than you.
What if they can't read?
We're imagining in about 10 years they can read, or 15 years.
Damn.
So you're imagining yourself as much older, and you're imagining them as much younger. Or you can imagine them at your age.
What if they're dyslexic?
Then hopefully you read to them. All right, so these are the things you have to have in it. In the beginning, explain why you're writing this letter. Think about the meaning between the world and me. So what is knowledge does he want to share to his kid? Or James Baldwin's A Letter to My Nephew. What's the knowledge he wants to share? Why do you think it's important to communicate this to your child and the wisdom in life?
Good ass cheese.
Something I want you to talk about is this is very, something simple. Talk about your family. Assume they may not know your parents or grandparents. So let's say if this is 15, 20 years from now, there's a possibility that they don't know the grandparents the way you know them or your parents. People change when they get older. So talk about their uncles or the brothers or the cousins. Give us a little insight about your family, right? Uh, I'll have my sample one up by tonight. I'll send it to you guys. Next, explain to them what you know about your culture and what you want to pass along. Tell them about it, how it is to live as depending on your background, Mexican American, Salvadoran American, such and such. Explain to them how to navigate the world as a person of color. Explain to them what they need to know as a boy grow in the world. What dangers or lessons do they need to know to survive this world? So it really depends who you're talking to. So if you're talking to like your future daughter and you are coming from a male perspective, talk about dangers of being a woman or the dangers of men or something like that. Or same thing if you are a female. So if Brianna wrote to her future daughter or son, what knowledge do you want to impart about being a guy or a girl in this world? Explain a worldly issue. So you need to get a little political. It could be something as huge as racism, it could be immigration, could even be pollution, or it could be something that's affecting us today. But explain to them a world issue that is kind of affecting you briefly. Explain the problems that is affecting your world and the world around you and how it can affect them. So we're looking at an issue that might be present, 10, 20 years from now, that will still be affecting them. Finally, give them some wisdom about life. If I were you, I would go back to the end of part 1. We did a discussion post and you guys wrote a paragraph about that already. So use that to help you. We actually did this letter, but like a small version of it. Like, for example, if I remember correctly, Octavio said he wanted his kids to mind their own business and stuff like that. At the end of your letter, end with a salutation. Salutation just means something like love, Alex, sincerely, Alex, best up, Alex. Up to you. This counts as a project grade. Obviously, we can't do like real projects right now, but this is our project grade. This is due on Tuesday. All right. Okay. Any questions? Let me open this a little further. You guys have any questions about anything we talked about? No? All right, let me just do a quick recap of everything just so you're not lost. Okay. So at the very beginning, we talked about our Google Drive. Our Google Drive is very important because we're uploading documents on there. To get access to it, you have to use your LASD email. And on there, you see you can upload 2 assignments between the world and me and the letter. The essay is due the day before your conference. You sign for your conference here. If you go to our class, you see that there's due dates. All the quizzes and all the discussion posts are due by Friday, the rest of them. But I recommend you do it a little sooner because you have to finish the essay. If you didn't do the first ones, 4 and 5, and the quizzes, do that by tonight because I'm gonna close those. So keep you guys on task. I lost this. Yeah. So you see those things, not the reminders. Here, yeah. So do these things. And that's it. What do you guys, any questions? All right, I'm close the screen share. All right, so that's what you guys need to do. On Thursday, no, not Thursday. On Friday, we're going to break it off into groups so you guys can start thinking about your essay. Not thinking about it, but to talk to people who are working the same prompt. But before then, you should start writing. But by then, you should have all the quizzes and stuff. Though.
Wait, so for the grades, when are they due?
Let me look at my calendar. When's the first?
The 1st of April,
Yeah.
and then will we get like the grade in the mail, or how would that work?
You probably get it in the mail. I don't really know how that works. I'm guessing the mail. There's still people at the district.
All right then. Bet.
Okay, so if you have any questions, please stay connected. So like Octavio, I can help you with your thing, or if not, you guys are free to go. Please do your things and have a good week until Friday. Meet you guys on Friday. All right, Octavio.
Yeah.
So what do you need help on?